Hello YouTube, this is my review for the 2024 Mazda CX-30. This is the Select Sport trim. I've owned the vehicle for about a year and a half and I've been meaning to do this review for quite a while. I chose the Mazda CX-30 because I was able to get leather seats without any other upgraded options like a sunroof or power rear deck lift. This one is manual. Simple, easy to operate, no additional cost. It was also like that the roof rack rails were low profile, streamlined. I think they matched the car well. The roof racks themselves I was not impressed with. They are giant and just don't look like they belong, so I opted out of purchasing those. Some of the things I've noticed about this vehicle that probably could use some improvement, I think, is that the seats, when you fold them down, they interfere with the driver's seat. If the driver's seat is not tilted forward or pulled forward, I suppose you could probably take the headrest off and it would fit, but then you'd have to store the headrest somewhere. It seems like it would have been a better design just to have it fold down without having to move anything. So if we slide the seat forward, it will fold down, and you can slide the seat back into position and it'll work. But then if you want to fold the rear seat back up, you have to again move the front seat, which just all seems not very well thought out, not very ergonomic or easy to use. And then you can see here, I'd originally thought for the longest time that this would not open with the rear seat down with the headrest in place. It does, however, have a in-between setting that allows it to open. If you look at this, you can kind of see the slots. I've never cared for this sliding center console. It's never operated smoothly. It's always felt kind of draggy and catchy, and you know, hard to find that center location. I mean, it's functional, but I think it could have been built a little bit better, perhaps. As you can see, it does have the leather seats, which I do like. It's got plenty of storage, cup holders in the front doors, cup holders there, a little storage area behind, or in front of, I guess, the cup holder. All of that is very nice. So with the Mazda, they say it's the Mazda driving experience. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but they put the center screen up here. It's not a touch screen, which is fine with me because I just don't, touchscreens and I do not get along very well. So I was fine with that. All the controls for that and the center console or center display are down here. On the center console, it has the radio volume knob here, and to mute you can just push down once. That's convenient, I like that. So we'll go on to the instrument cluster area and start the vehicle. So it has a rear seat alarm, which I've turned off. It beeps a lot when you start it. It still has the alarm that shows up visually. I don't think it's active for the actual audible alarm. It was for a while. Even though it was shut off, it would beep and flash and do all kinds of stuff. Seems to be kind of the theme of this car. So it does have the lane assist alarm down here in the lower right. I don't really care for that. It is off. I feel like that if it's off, the light should also be off. I mean, that one is the same color as an engine malfunction light. So I don't think it's the best idea. I believe Toyota has it blank when it's off, and then when it's on, there's a green light indicating it's on. I think Mazda should do something similar with that. As far as the speedometer display, there's an info button on the steering wheel, and if you push that, it cycles through, and there's 3 options for the speedometer. There's this one with the digital miles per hour readout with the 2 lines in the vehicle. It's just kind of doesn't seem like the most useful setup. It has the lines. If you cross the lines on the edge of the road, they'll light up orange. It'll flash the steering wheel at you, just like the lane assist is on. So if you hit the info button, it has this needle speedometer, which I like better, but I wish it had the digital readout from the previous display option in there somewhere, so you could have both. That's kind of my preference. And then it has a third one with the direction of travel and the average miles per gallon. As you can see, the car does get reasonable fuel economy. So on either side of the center, there's 2 other displays. So one's the miles remaining, and the other one's like a mile per gallon, a more instantaneous one. There are a couple of options for that, and those are controlled on the screen over here via these knobs. And so it's in the settings menu, which I would think you would turn counterclockwise to get to, but if you turn counterclockwise, it goes up. It's opposite of what I would expect, so it's counterintuitive for me. I looked to see if there's an option to change this, and there is not. So just think backwards and turn it clockwise, and it goes down. That's the best way I can do it, is to do the opposite of what I think I should be doing on that. But select that by pushing the center button down, and then it has in-vehicle display as the first option. And again, you want to push this down, and so it comes up with center display, which is the one we're looking at now, and then instrument cluster display. And so again, turn it clockwise, push the center down, and then it has 3 options for this fuel efficiency and range display, which are those 2 bars on the outside. It kind of highlights them there on the right hand side, shows you where they're at. But if we go back over, there's type 1, type 2, and off. So put this back to that. So type 1 is miles remaining on the right, and the instantaneous miles per gallon on the left. Go into that menu, and type 2 is just the miles remaining and a digital readout of the average miles per gallon. Instantaneous, I mean miles per gallon. I feel like they could have put a little bit more effort into this as well. I usually leave it on the first option. You can turn it off, which I don't know, I like having the miles to empty displayed somewhere. But if you put it on type 1, it's almost like a second gas gauge. So there's a gas gauge over here, and then this display is basically the same display. It's another fuel gauge that tells you how many miles are left. So I feel like they could have put a little bit more effort into that, but I guess it's not the end of the world. So if we go back to this, we click the back button, it takes you back through the menu. And then there's safety settings. And this is where the driver, the lane assist is at. So it has some of these other audible cruise information, whatever, driver assist, safety alerts, and so it has lane departure warning system. As you can can see the box is not checked, so it should be off. Alert type is also off. So I would think that with everything turned off, that I would receive no feedback from the vehicle. And that is the biggest thing I do not like about this vehicle, is that it's off, everything's off, but I will still have the wheel try to move me back into the lane. If it's icy roads and the snow plow has done a very neat job of plowing and the line on the edge is very straight, it will use that as the line. If you're trying to avoid debris in the road and you cross the center line, this will pull you back toward whatever you're trying to avoid. And it's just intermittent as to what amount of force it uses. I just don't like it. I wish that if it was off, that it was off. I've had all kinds of other random issues with this, like the vehicle would say that I was traveling at 30 miles an hour, 3 car lengths behind another vehicle, steady speed, and then in the center here it'll come on like a collision alert and wants me to brake immediately, even though there's nothing immediately in front of me. I've had ghost signals on the side that there's a car approaching from the rear, just things like that. That I just don't like the safety system on this. I feel like it's more hazardous. I haven't had any incidents yet, but in the wintertime, I really want this to be off, and I'm just not impressed that you can't shut it off. And I'm not impressed that I have to fight the vehicle to avoid hazards just based on the lines. And I've also noticed that going around corners, which is where you think this would be most important, if you fall asleep at the wheel and you're going to drive off the road turns and the vehicle continues straight, that it would correct you, alert you, wake you up, whatever. If you're going around a corner and you cross the line, everything's fine. It doesn't alert you at all, or at least this vehicle. So I'm just not a fan of all the safety stuff that's kind of marginal, doesn't work the way I think it should, and I don't have the ability to turn it off. It does have the parking brake, which is activated on its own, and it has the light up here on the dash to show you the parking brake is on, as well as the door being open and the passenger driver, I guess in this case, seatbelt not engaged. And all of this is fine, with the exception of the parking brake. Kind of does its own thing also. It's supposed to, as far as I was told, turn on when you park on a hill. I am on almost flat ground in this location, and it's on. I've had it turn on while parking and then not disengage when I try to drive away, so I have to turn it off manually. I've had parked on hills and had it not engage at all, or again I have to engage it manually. It's just inconsistent, and just another automatic thing that's kind of more of a nuisance than any help. And that being said, the only other thing that I'm not really impressed with on this vehicle is the Mazda experience. They say you've joined the Mazda family. Their dealerships, the one I bought, this one, I would not recommend. They provide zero customer service. They actually avoid your phone calls and emails. The Mazda customer service itself, not much better. The main reason I would not buy a Mazda is those two reasons: the dealership and the customer service provided by Mazda itself. There is a recall on this vehicle, which came out months after I bought it. Something about if you leave the vehicle off too long with the radio on, it'll drain the battery. I also wanted to add that I will be trading this vehicle in sometime in the near future, after having owned it only about 1.5 years. I have no confidence in the dealership where I purchased the vehicle, nor do I have any confidence in Mazda's customer service. So I feel like, should I need some kind of warranty work or any kind of other mechanical service or whatever, any kind of service at all generally, that I will not receive good service from either the manufacturer or the dealership. Even the recall process. They send lots of notifications that there's a recall that needs to be done. I've lost all trust in the dealership where I'm supposed to take the vehicle, and the nearest other dealership is hours away, like 4-hour drive away. So it's just not a viable solution. Going to do better research next time and hopefully trade for something that I can find reliable, or at least trust in the dealership and manufacturer to provide decent service should I have an issue in the future. With a review, that seems like it's worth mentioning. So I had originally thought this would be a good vehicle for drive-in movie theaters, because when you shut, let's go back to the radio and I'll demonstrate that. Let's go back to the home button here, go up to entertainment, just pick Sirius. So my wife and the country music here. So if you shut the vehicle off and then hit the button again, the radio comes right back on. It's an awesome feature. But the has the recall, and then also every time you shut it off and turn it on, the lights come on, which leads to another point, is you can't shut the light off. If you shut the headlights off and then put it in gear and drive any distance, all the lights turn back on. So you're at the drive-in theater basically blinding everyone every time the radio shuts off and turns back on. So just little things like that. But overall, the car hasn't left me stranded anywhere. It's mechanically reliable, just not what I would call the best customer service. Like, I would honestly not recommend the purchase just because of that, without going into too much detail as to what exactly happened with them. They did get a nice cat decal out of the deal, so now you know. I hope you have found this review useful, and thank you for watching.